As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be an opera singer.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be
An opera singer.
To me, being
An opera singer.
was better than being president of the United States. Even before I first wandered into the cab stand for an after-school job, I knew I wanted to be a part of them.
To sing is to impersonate. But who do I impersonate? There are opera singers that are really good at singing opera. I want to sound like them. But what does it mean to sound like somebody? When you sound like somebody, you also sound like yourself. But I don't know what that means. Opera singers are not gangsters. Some gangsters might be opera singers, but I don't know any. In general, though, opera singers are too busy to be gangsters. But I think that opera singers and gangsters share something. I'm going to try to figure out what that is. Why does Ray Liotta want to be a gangster? Is it because of what gangsters represent? Is it because of what they have? What they have. Power, wealth, cars, girls. These things are important to Ray Liotta. Gangsters have a purpose. To accumulate. Gangsters represent the things that they accumulate. A gangster is a gun. A gangster is a drug. A gangster is powerful. A gangster is illicit. How to impersonate a gun.
Bang, 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 bang.
Gangsters mean so many things to so many kinds of people. If you want to become a gangster, you try to become whatever gangster means to you. You try to become the gangster that means the most to you. But you can never really become another person.
How am I not myself?
How am I not myself?
Myself.
How am I not myself?
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 You can only try to be like another person. You can only impersonate. So you impersonate Frank Lucas.
Hey, don't rub on that. You block that. You understand? That's alpaca. That's $25,000 alpaca.
You impersonate Al Capone.
A man become preeminent, he is expected to have enthusiasms. Enthusiasms.
You impersonate Vito Corleone.
He'll set up a meeting with someone that you absolutely trust, guaranteeing your safety. And at that meeting, you'll be assassinated.
Denzel Washington is like a gangster. De Niro is like a gangster. Marlon Brando is like a gangster. But they are like particular gangsters. Gangsters with names. They impersonate. Brando reminds me the most of an opera singer. He has cotton balls in his mouth. Sometimes when I'm singing, I feel like I have cotton balls in my mouth. But usually it's just my mouth filling up with blood.
Laughing with a mouth of blood from a little spill I took.
I'm just kidding. My mouth isn't filling up with blood. My tongue presses against my bottom front teeth. I move it as little as possible. This is how pure vowels are made. Cotton balls make this.
I understand. You found paradise in America?
I'm a mezzo-soprano. When I started singing, my voice teacher had me listen to the canon for and of mezzo-sopranos. But just listening and not watching, it's hard to tell the difference between operatic voices. I listened to Cecilia Bartoli. I listened to Frederica von Stade. I listened to Marilyn Horne. They are all famous mezzo-sopranos. So who do I try to be? I should be like all of them. A chimera, a cyborg, a collection of stolen parts, a voice made of other voices. But I can't take someone's voice from them. Then it wouldn't be an impersonation. It'd be its stolen voice.
Now sing.
My dad loves Dana Carvey. He loves Wayne's World, partly because it takes place in Aurora, Illinois, near my dad's hometown. Above all, he loves Carvey as George Herbert Walker Bush on Saturday Night Live. Here's a quote from my dad. It got so you would hear the real Bush speak and everybody would laugh.
Dana Carvey's George Herbert Walker Bush. Not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture.
There is a man here who has earned a lasting place in our hearts and in our history.
To impersonate, to represent. What does Ted Cruz represent? What does Dana Carvey represent?
Were it not that I have had bad dreams.
Which dreams indeed are ambition. For the very substance of the ambitious is merely the shadow of a dream.
What do we learn from shadows?
I'm Senator Ted Cruz. And I do not like you in a box.
Time for introductions. I am here, Noisy Ghost, with Erik Wenzel once again, and Andre Kello once again, and our special ghost this week is stand-up comedian Ian Abramson. So say hi, everybody.
Hello.
And
hi.
Hey.
We said everybody.
Yeah, good. Glad that happened. And I'm going to start with a question to get this going. What do you guys think is the difference between acting and impersonating?
Sure. I think that with acting, the goal is often to try to create a sincere, like giving out a genuine emotion, or even if it is some sort of exaggeration of that, it's something that is coming directly from within you, whereas an impersonation is very much it's targeting something very specific. So if Jamie Foxx and Ray is trying to be Ray Charles, it's probably less of an impersonation, although maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it does have some sort of impersonation in there.
Well, it's an impersonation in the sense that he's trying to portray a very particular person that already exists and has a legacy behind him.
That's true, definitely.
But at the same time, it's also an Academy Award-winning film that's melodramatic, so he assumes all sort of aspects of a theatrical performance that wouldn't be common to Ray as a entertainer in his own right, I guess.
Yeah, but then he also does need to make sure he's getting those mannerisms that people are going to be looking for, very specific. A very specific way of vocalizing. So there's definitely some impersonation in there. I guess that's what it is. That's interesting. I've never really thought about that.
So any kind of acting where you're playing someone that already exists involves some degree of impersonation, but you're saying that it's possible that there's also a more creative element coming from the person who's the actor that maybe they get from something else. I don't know.
Sure. If you look at... You mentioned Dana Carvey, and Dana Carvey's impersonations are both exaggerated and offering something outside of what he's commenting on who the person is with an additional, say, childlike quality in George Bush Sr.
Yeah.
By making him more childlike. It may not be how he actually acts during a speech, but he's commenting on how he sees George Bush Sr. as a president. And so he's kind of adding that in. That's been my take on it. That being said, I don't really do impersonations. So
yeah, I'm not an expert.
What
do you think, Erik?
So I think impersonation maybe has more applications. Acting is specifically for something theatrical. It's a play or a film or something, and like impersonation can be I think it's like a felony to impersonate an officer. It's in a larger application, I guess. And then also I kept thinking, oh wait, you're not saying impressions, because I was like, it should be comedic, but like an impersonator, it's
fidelity is the most important thing, right?
Yeah,
but it's not just fidelity, like you were saying, like Ian was saying. It's supposed to reference the thing so that you remember it.
Repetition with a difference, sort of like parody, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess an impersonator, it's also less original material. Or no, it's less actual material. Like, when you're an actor, you have your script and everything, and impersonating is like you're trying to become that thing. So like Ian was saying, like with you put yourself in it a little bit, you become that, how you would play that or something. But like when you're impersonating something, you're like trying to push yourself away maybe and become this thing. Like, I'm going to be George Bush, but like not specifically say things he says, but like try to impersonate his whole character, his way of talking.
Well, when we were talking just now about what actors do, I think we've been making reference to a particular tradition in acting.
Yeah.
You know, that comes from the Actors Studio and Stanislavski and Strasberg, and this idea that so psychological realism, right? Mm-hmm. That you can understand so well a person's motivations that it becomes possible to know what they would do in a given situation, right? So you're not so much impersonating people for the most part. Like if you do your research and your acting exercises, instead you get to a point where you are that person. You've changed enough of how you feel and respond to things that it's not an impersonation.
Well, you imagine that to be true, but that doesn't mean that
it's never true.
Yeah, it's never actually true.
Well, I think when you do impersonation, you're trying to pass for that person.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking of
like
this thing I saw on TLC or something, and they were like weird jobs or impersonators or something, but they had this guy that like hangs out in casinos and like is Robert De Niro, and he like has like spent time to like get credit cards issued to Robert De Niro, like, and he acts like how vacationers would think Robert De Niro would act. So he's kind of this like amalgamation of all the Robert De Niro characters.
There was an incident like that at Lollapalooza I remember going to in like 2005, where there was a guy dressed up as Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean, and there were like so many people thought it was actually Johnny Depp, and I was like, okay, first off, Johnny Depp wouldn't go to Lollapalooza. Two, if he were to go to Lollapalooza, why would he dress up? They were like, he was dressed up like a pirate. Why would he dress up like one of his characters just to go hang out at a concert? Like, why would there's so many issues with this.
It's like the kind of thing that you would expect somebody to do if they were in some TV show that was on for 2 years in the 70s and they still go to the conventions.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, they're desperately clinging. But Johnny Depp's doing fine.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know what these people were thinking.
Well, I was just to wonder about that with, like, actors that play really cool parts, like Batman or whatever. Like, do they keep the costume? Like, because you get to be Batman during the shooting of the movie. But then, like, don't you still want to be Batman? Or, like, is Michael Keaton, like, I'm Batman? Like, I don't know. Like, you want...
I think...
Because that's like when you're a kid and you're playing Batman or you're playing a pirate or something, and, you know, you want to be that thing. And I guess, is it acting or impersonating?
I'm pretty sure Christian Bale is doing an impression of Michael Keaton when he does the ridiculous gravelly voice.
I can't handle that. That was like... Oh, God.
He always does that when he's doing an American accent, though. He does the same thing in American Psycho. He just sort of, like, talks slower than he normally does. I don't know.
No, but when he was
about.
Bruce Wayne, I was okay. But when he was like he sounded like, give him a couple days and some lemon tea.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's
like he's Batman, and he's going to be like,
he's running out
tell me where they are. Oh, excuse me. Oh, that's better. Tell me where they are.
No, but it's even worse than that. It was like raspy. He's like, Batman is...
But it's possible that the reason that they make that choice is because it's so easy for us to imitate it, right? It becomes...
It was so true for Bane, I think, despite sound design issues.
Oh, I love that.
It becomes iconic, right?
Yeah.
It gets boiled down to an incredibly easily reproducible...
Yeah. An essential vocal sound that you can just make, that anyone can make, you know?
Right, anybody could be Batman.
Yeah.
It was... Well, what's funny about the Christian Bale Batman, too, was, like, he clearly... It was like in that universe, Bruce Wayne has a Batman voice that he does.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, Batman...
He talks about that, right?
Does he?
The character? Doesn't he say, like, I'm going to change my voice so people don't recognize me?
Oh, and when he, in the Batman Begins, when he's like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Right, the costume and the voice, and it's all his theatricality. And he mentions the theatricality, and then I think Michael Caine as... Alfred, he says, I think you're overdoing it a little bit with the theatricality. And it's weird, because where does that theatricality come from? We don't know him to be like a drama geek
he didn't.
or
Do you think, oh my God, what if he was? What if when he was like, when he was in high school, he was in all the musicals and stuff?
He totally went to, I mean, he didn't have parents, so he probably had to go to school all year round, and he's like at these boarding schools and stuff,
yeah.
and they're like, well, we'll play some polo and.
I would think that he wouldn't be
acting.
considering his parents died outside a theater. I don't think he's the guy that you're gonna get to go and like do stage crew.
Yeah,
right?
no, but no, he'd be the actor.
Really?
I know his happiest moment was like right before they died at the theater. So it's like he's going back to the scene of the crime.
He didn't look super happy watching Deflator Mouse. He was what, 6?
Oh God,
What
I forgot that it was
6-year-old?
fucking Deflator Mouse.
Do we
That's
know
too
that?
much.
Do we know that?
It was
because
Deflator
they're always
Mouse, 'cause you see the
redoing it.
bat.
Because remember when they like the first time they got killed in the Batman, it was popcorn and flowers or something, and then he like forgot. And then when Val Kilmer was remembering it, it was like roses and pearls.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, I like the idea that like Batman like forgot.
Rob and his parents also died doing a stage performance.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Theater kills, guys. Stay away.
Yeah, I would think, these are not the guys. Like, they're so into theatricality, and yet they have such a bad relationship with it.
That's my favorite Batman movie line, though, is when like Chris O'Donnell's really upset, and then Batman's like, if Batman could have saved your family, he would have. Like, it's because it's stupid. But it's like the raspy Batman voice, because is that Val Kilmer or George Clooney at that point trying to do it?
George
but,
Clooney,
like,
I think, with Chris O'Donnell. But I think
it was just
a thing that happens, like you were saying earlier about Batman impersonating about Christian Bale impersonating Michael Keaton. I think that's a thing. Maybe the actor themselves doesn't necessarily be like, I'm playing this character, I'm going to be inspired by this, I'm going to be inspired by that. But they're not like going for necessarily a specific person. We impose later as an audience things that they are impersonating to us. So like,
yeah,
it's possible.
So maybe impersonations is a thing more that the audience does and less than the actor.
Well, I
sometimes
think Pacino is doing an impression of himself. You know, it's
in the Phil Spector movie.
No, in all
in
of
everything now.
Everything he does now, it seems like
it's true.
He's doing an Al Pacino impression.
I mean, isn't that a famous thing that they say about Brando, that like The Godfather ruined him because like all the movies he appeared in after it, it's like he couldn't turn it off anymore? I remember hearing that was a thing.
I don't know.
Or that maybe no one thinks that anymore, but someone told me
he just forgot to take the cotton balls out of his mouth?
No, that like he developed that in such an intense way that like it changed the way he acted after that. That like
because he had such a weird relationship to his body that like as a what was not Meisner, as a Stanislavski performer, that he just like would just take on the thing forever. It was just such an indelible role for him.
Yeah, I don't know, that it just like the commitment to the
I think he just got fat.
I think so too, and I think that's fine. He should be allowed to get fat. He's really good in the Johnny Depp movie with the La Mancha. Talk about it. Remember them?
Oh, the
21 Jump Street.
No, Marlon Brando, Johnny Depp would be really good in 21 Jump Street. No,
well, what was the freshman?
No, he's like. It was, I don't know.
The Man from La Mancha?
Yes, Man from La Mancha. That's what it was. Yeah.
What is that?
It's
is that
Johnny
like 22 Jump Street.
Pretends to be like a pirate.
It was Don Juan DeMarco.
Oh, is that what I'm thinking of?
No, I think you're thinking...
I am thinking of Don Juan DeMarco. Why am I calling it Man of La Mancha?
Don Juan DeMarco, where, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry I brought this up, but yeah. He just...
My sister, like, she and her friend went and saw that movie, and they would do the Johnny Depp impersonations. Like, they would make fun of it, but somehow it was hot. They're like, it's so hot. He's like, I am Don Juan DeMarco. And, like, they were, like, giggling and
laughing. Is he pretending to be Spanish? Is he impersonating a Spaniard?
I think what we're supposed to get from it is that he's doing an impression of Marlon Brando.
But he's sort of, isn't Don Juan like a Dracula or something? He's just this lover of the ages. Like, isn't that the plot of Don Juan DeMarco? Is like,
I don't think he's a Dracula.
He's like Don Juan from the 1600s, but then he shows up in like New York in the 90s or something.
Right.
And he's like still loving people, and he's, I don't know. I just remember like
he never stopped loving.
He never stopped loving. Yeah, but just that my sister was like, it's such a good movie, and it's so like stupid, and then she loved. That I guess the impersonation thing is when you do it, you also get like a high out of it. Like it's fun.
It's fun when you nail it, when you do it right. Yeah,
it's fun to do the Arnold Schwarzenegger voice or something, and so it was like fun for her to be like, "I'm Don Juan DeMarco." Like,
yeah, it's
like it was stupid,
voice,
but she enjoyed it. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm Inigo
when Bill Clinton was president, there was somebody on SNL that was struggling to do an impersonation of him. They were working on it all the time, and he said he finally cracked it when he realized. A Bill Clinton impersonation was just a JFK impersonation with a Southern accent.
Was that Phil Hartman?
Because Bill Clinton is trying to do a JFK
or is that
impression.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it was Daryl Hammond,
Yeah.
but it could have been Phil Hartman. It was not Phil Spector.
Oh. Well, in that sense, it's I guess two things. The impersonation is happening twofold. Like the audience is both seeing the JFK like ghosting.
I don't know if I would have seen the JFK. Like
if you didn't know that.
Yeah, I think he cracked it and realized, Bill Clinton probably studied JFK a lot and his likability and how he managed to do that, but it's not something that's instantly taken in. So to get to a Bill Clinton impersonation, he used an impersonation that he assumed Bill Clinton was using. There was like these weird levels of impersonation and what we're supposed to take in and what we might not necessarily take in.
Obama was quoting JFK the other day in that speech, and I was like, is he like the not, we don't want to repeat the things that JFK did, but do we want to, like, is he the persona presidents want to occupy? Like,
well, he could still try to kill Castro.
JFK is a president that when you quote him, you don't have to worry about whether or not he has positive connotations for people.
Yeah.
That's a good point, yeah.
You know, generally people have fond memories of JFK.
Yeah.
Not my dad. I'm serious.
Good riddance.
No, it's seriously.
Catholic
he's like,
piece of shit.
Yeah, no, he's like, those Upper East Coasters or whatever.
Upper East Coasters.
Those guys over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he faced a lot of prejudice in his life as an Upper East Coaster.
He did.
But I think a lot
No, don't you remember there was that well, that's why they were comparing Obama and JFK, because JFK had to make that speech about like being Catholic is still Christian, because like for a long time they're like, you can't have a Catholic president, it'll never work. They
because
Protestant.
his allegiance is to the Pope and not to the Constitution.
Yeah.
And then he made it clear that no, his allegiance is to the
was
Constitution.
to the corporations.
I think that if Christian Bale is doing Michael Keaton and if Bill Clinton is doing JFK, I think, a lot of people end up mimicking their heroes when they're attempting to do something complicated and difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people have been giving a lot of shit to Iggy Azalea.
Oh, yeah.
For
the Sonic blackface.
Right, because she said in that interview, was it on The Voice? Not on The Voice. The View. Sound, not picture. That she was inspired by Missy Elliott, and that a lot of her...
I clutched my pearls when that happened. I was so upset. Yeah.
A lot of the criticism she's been getting has been because she's trying to sound like somebody who isn't a white girl from Australia.
She doesn't sound anything like Missy Elliott, though. That's the thing. She's not even mimicking... She's just mimicking this, like...
Well, her version, that's what's offensive. It would be one thing if she were doing a spot-on Missy Elliott.
I mean, it would still suck, but yeah.
Her idea of doing Missy Elliott is just impersonating a black person.
Yeah.
But I think it's more generic than that. Like, she's the fancy person, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Remember the Drake song Fancy? There's already been a hip-hop song called Fancy. But anyway, sorry.
There have been a lot of songs called Fancy.
Yes. Yeah. Ian, sorry.
No, I was gonna say I didn't realize that her song was called Fancy, so I thought you were just saying, "Is that the fancy woman?"
No, she's so fancy.
Those Australians, they're known for it.
I heard about her controversy before I heard her music, so by that point I was like, "Well, I guess I don't need to listen to this."
Yeah, well, I mean, she just seems kind of generic in the way that all that music is right now, where it's like kind of rap, kind of EDM, kind of this and that. Like, it's probably on a commercial. It's probably on America's Got Talent. Like, it, as long
it's
as
like a production alchemy where they're trying to make the thing that'll appeal to the most amount of people.
Yeah, and it's just got to sound like a little different, but not too much. So it's like, because I think the other thing is like that music, they want it to be like hip hoppy, but like not too hip hoppy, like watered down, or like
black, but not too black.
Right? Yeah, no, yeah, like
well,
that's
like
gross.
that was Elvis, right? That was David Bowie trying to do Little Richard. That was
it's been going on.
Elvis trying to do Arthur Big Boy Crudup. And
this is just reprehensible because she's terrible. Whereas Justin Timberlake, we're like, it's fine. I'll dance,
I think it's all terrible, guys.
Yeah, no,
like,
I mean it is all disgusting.
But it's also like, but you want it to be vaguely ethnic, and I mean they make these jokes about like American Apparel ads, like just can't look white, but they should probably be like Syrian, Ecuadorian or something. Like there's this thing about having a strange look, and I was thinking about this because I was looking at Instagram the other day. I was on the Instagram. I don't even know who or why, but it was like a picture of Nicki Minaj, but there were like 3 of her, and it was for like Heineken or something, and
An advertisement.
It was an advertisement, and they had her 3 times, but it was like her, but different versions of her, and it was just that the wig had changed. But there was something about the photoshopping and everything that was like different flavors of like ethnicity or something. It was really weird. And then I was also thinking, like, in the end, I mean, it's all photoshopped and color corrected and changed and stuff like that. So it's also, when you get this music production too, when you're like shifting the pitch and everything, like in the end, you've just got this amalgamation of, you know, the idea
Cyborg of stolen parts.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's like, it doesn't seem like, to me, when I heard that song, I'm like, oh, she's not trying to sound specifically one thing. She's just trying to sound like that thing that, like,
Yeah.
I'm so fancy. Like, I don't know. Like, it's like she's trying to sound.
You're doing an impersonation of an impersonation.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
no one in their entire world has ever sounded like that.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining it well enough, but like, to me, it's like more. It's not a 1-to-1 impersonation.
I agree.
It's
with.
This,
That's
like,
yeah.
She's trying to fit into this thing that keeps changing, and it also has a lot to do with like technology morphing things and like marketing and branding, and it's like a bigger.
Well, it's offensive, I think, to me anyway, possibly to other people, when a person's identity gets mechanized in that way. Like, you know, your voice is an aspect of your identity, and when you take on a series of tropes that are just associated with a particular cultural history or geography or race or whatever, then it's like you're saying that all those people that are doing that thing are just people that are like me doing a costume or an impersonation. You know, like, there is no such thing as Australians. All there is people doing an Australian accent. You know, Australian isn't real.
Yeah, to be fair, Australia is the brunt of a lot of really bad impersonations.
Sure. And then...
So this was Iggy Azalea's Australia's revenge, like, against...
Well, no, I'm saying she already talks funny. She already talks funny, so, you know, you can't be too hard. I don't know.
You can't blame her for not wanting to sound like an Australian,
yeah.
is what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't know where this fits, but I just think of a good day, America, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yep.
I just imagine Iggy Azalea like coming here to like be like, oh, I'm gonna be racist so I can get vengeance for my homeland. Like, here, put another shrimp on the Barbie. Here, I'll put one on, and then just like doing a horrible. Yeah.
That's not a racist. This is a racist.
Yeah.
But why is she taking revenge against black people?
I don't know the psychology of these people. I just report.
I think she's just like any other kid out there that's like, you're into stuff and you're just trying to like be the things you like.
So it's the same thing as when Robert Plant tries to sound like blind Lemon Jefferson. That's he's doing it because he thinks that's what music should sound like. So I will make music that sounds like that, which means I have to do an impersonation of this person.
Well, you said before that like people impersonate their heroes, like Bill Clinton impersonating JFK or whatever, but if it's like
or the person that is most politically expedient for them to
well, I don't want it to go in that direction. I just meant that like when you're a kid you impersonate your heroes, or like, you know, so it's like I don't think it's like meant as a bad thing. Like they're like sitting down, they're like, how can I destroy culture?
Well, no,
I'm
not saying saying that either.
Shit rules. I want to learn how to play guitar.
But if Robert Plant is singing like that and he's doing it deliberately because he wants to make that kind of music, then it's possible that he's imitating a certain vocal style, because it's the same as if, you know, Jimmy Page is imitating a particular guitar style, right? So he takes all of the specific little elements, he analyzes them, he duplicates them, and then he rearranges them, right? But that's not what Iggy Azalea is doing. Iggy Azalea appears to be simply adding certain aspects of a cultural history for like spice or whatever. I mean, she isn't actually creating something worth that should exist.
But that style of singing she has just been around. That's just like pop whatever music. And so it's like a vernacular. It's like a global famous style of singing.
But it has controversy, which means she's not doing it right. She's not passing. Wait, Ian, when you
Sure.
Okay, so obviously as a comedian you have like influences, but you said you don't do impersonations. Do you see any sort of how your
Absolutely.
influences
When I was
inflect
starting
your
out,
work?
I feel like I was writing and performing like some weird combination of Steve Martin and Zach Galifianakis, which is I mean you could still accuse me of, but I think it's less obvious, and I think that's all you can really ask for when you're starting out doing anything.
You just want it to be less as least obvious as possible.
Yeah, you know, like when people say like great artists steal, I don't think they mean that they're just actually using their art. I think it's more of they love that art and they realize that that is a huge influence and they want to use parts of it that they found effective in a new way. So
take the form of it, sort of, and then
sure,
put your own
yeah,
stuff?
yeah. An example in comedy also is early in Richard Pryor's career, he was practically a replica of Bill Cosby.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't using his material, but he was using his voice and his just the way that he went about a joke, the way that he delivered a joke, the kind of subjects that he did. And
now, when you say his voice, you're talking about his comic voice, not his like doing an impression of Bill Cosby.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, everybody would say this to Richard Pryor. This wasn't like he was aware that he was doing that. And Bill Cosby was groundbreaking at the time because he would go on stage and very decidedly not address race. He would, and that was different because it was saying. I can be funny just as a person, just talking about anything, and so Cosby was groundbreaking in that sense of like, wow, this guy's just funny and he's black, and then Richard Pryor realized he was just kind of, so this is like end of the 50s, right? And so Cosby has a lot of traction. He's one of the biggest acts in the country, and then Pryor is getting bigger and bigger, has had some TV spots, and goes to Vegas where he's doing a weekend at a hotel. Everybody's there. The entire Rat Pack is watching him. And while he's on stage, after like 3 minutes, he says, "What am I doing?" and disappears for 5 years because he's like, I'm not being myself, you know, like what I'm saying is Iggy Azalea is going to turn into Bill Cosby. Right?
Oh my God.
It wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world.
Sure.
I mean, if it really is like you say, if it's a progression that you see over and over again when you look at the way that young artists work, which is that they start out not having a clue what to do.
Sure.
So all they do is they just find somebody that they admire and then just do what they did.
Well, they accidentally make something marketable.
Yeah, I don't think you can help it.
Eaten
but there's a difference between. I think it has to come to a point where you realize you're doing that and you continue just trying to create that. Eventually you get away from that naturally, but I don't think you can help but be imitating something when you're
well, think of all the British musicians that sing with an American accent.
That's a great example because the Beatles came over and they were imitating American music, and then 5 years after that everyone is imitating the Beatles.
I don't know how to feel about accents when you're singing, because it is, yes, there are plenty of singers that sing with like Morrissey sings with an accent, right? And I guess like,
but I mean, listen to all the like British pop music of the 60s. Like,
are they singing in an American accent, or are they just sort of just singing in a?
But they're definitely not singing in their.
Well, they're singing like the black blues singers that they wanted to sound like. Like Eric Burden is doing an impression of a black blues singer.
So they're
And when he does,
so it's not an accent so much as just like
when he does "Hold On, I'm Coming." You know, he's just doing Sam and Dave. He's just doing their song, but he's singing it, and so he gets to be on TV because he's white.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I want to hold your hand. That does not have.
No, I agree. I agree with you. I'm just sort of
accent.
trying to figure out like what. But is it an American accent?
It's like transatlantic.
Yeah.
But that's the
is
whole
that what
thing.
it is?
Is that they're trying to sound American. They can't. So that's somewhere in between. And then America hears that. They try to sound more British. They can't. So it becomes this other weird thing.
And then that's why. And then and then it's great because it can play in any country because it's like, oh, it's English, but it's not. It's just like this Englishy sounding.
Yeah.
And then you have Green Day completing the circle where Billy Joe sings with a British accent.
I don't even know. He sounds like he has like a speech impediment or something. I don't know. There's like a thing in that in pop punk in general, actually, where there's this. It's not English, I don't think.
He's trying to sound like an English punk rocker.
Yeah.
Well,
like
maybe
his idea of like what Sid Vicious or whatever. You know what I mean? Like he has this kind of like.
But even they, like the British punk singers, they weren't singing like English people talk. They were singing to exaggerate certain vowel sounds and make something that sounded weird and uncomfortable.
But they sounded like British punk. They didn't sound like LA punk or something.
Right, but the punks in all the different places, they did the opposite of an impersonation. They wanted to not sound like human beings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, and that was, I think that's something you hear a lot of punk singers do, is that they are trying to sound like otherworldly and confrontational. Like maybe that's an aspect of Iggy Azalea's thing. Like maybe it is upsetting to people, and that's the point. But I can't imagine.
No, that's not the point.
She couldn't possibly.
Right? What I'm less bothered by, I don't like I said, Iggy Azalea. Like, I mean, I heard the music, and I mean, I don't know. I don't like this kind of music. It's all garbage to me. And part of it is like because she's just talking about like how great things are and.
I think I love
I'm on the way from Paris to Tokyo, and it's just like fuck you. That's you've been given this opportunity to speak, and you're just like talking about your bullshit lifestyle.
Maybe it's a song about World War II.
Yeah,
going from Paris to Tokyo.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
it's a big political. Yeah, it's a political commentary. That's what she's getting at.
And we had all these fancy new weapons to use.
That's right. Yep.
I would love something. Why can't we have a song like that? We had 99 Love Balloons about accidental nuclear holocaust. Now,
yeah, but then those songs become popular, and it's like, but then you're never actually supposed to like them.
There was garbage on the radio while that song was on the radio, though.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oh, it's all garbage. Yeah.
So I mean, it's popular music. Like that's the whole thing about it.
Yeah, that's why I guess I
don't think it's garbage, or it's garbage,
sure.
but it's like
I agree with
beautiful
that.
garbage. You
sure.
know.
I
want
that's my favorite
I want to
album.
Rub it all over my body like some garbage songs.
I believe there can be integrity in popular music.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. but most, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess I don't give it that much. I mean, like, because I know it's pop music and it's popular and it's being used in commercials, and it's not really about what most people get into music for, or like it's not really about what people care about music.
It's not about whether you like it, though. It's about what it's doing,
it's making me not care.
There's a writer, guy named John Lyman, who wrote a book about stand-up comedy, right?
Ian was just looking at that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a good book. And one of the premises of the book is that what pop singers and stand-up comedians were doing in the 50s and 60s was creating stuff that allowed for a kind of psychological integration of these communities that had been split apart, right? Because the city used to represent this place where people were constantly confronted with different communities and ways of life, and so you had to, integrate yourself into different concepts of what it is to be a citizen or to be a person. Mm-hmm. And then people started to, after World War II, build up all these boundaries that split apart the different cultural realities. And what the stand-up comedian would do is go to the people in the suburbs via the clubs and the radio programs and the television shows and bring the story of urban life to them.
And not necessarily like a sanitized version, because like the idea is that it is grit, that it is the sort of...
Well, because if you don't know what's going on, then it becomes it's sort of a nightmare, right?
Yeah.
It's this specter of reality that you can't comprehend, and there's a lot of anxiety about it. Mm-hmm. You wonder, is it good? You wonder, is it bad? You wonder, should I have left? You wonder, should I go back? Mm-hmm. And then, here's the stand-up comedian, and it continued in that tradition for a long time, according to this fella. Jerry Seinfeld doing Seinfeld, going, on a soundstage in L.A. telling the story of what it's like to live in New York to a bunch of people living in the suburbs all over the country.
Or that episode of Louis where he goes to on Jerry Seinfeld's request to that like country club or whatever in Long Island.
Sure, he's bringing the city to the country.
Yeah.
And the part of the city that people have a question about, which is, what is it when people are constantly confronted with, new and interesting and upsetting and weird parts of humanity that they ran away from to go out to the suburbs. And that this was something that, for example, Richard Pryor did.
Yeah.
Was that, he's a guy going out and creating these records, and the records get distributed, the LPs, right? And then these kids in college campuses and in rec rooms, in, safe, beautiful homes, wherever they are listening to stories about poverty and racism and all the things that they never have to experience because they don't, live the life of poor people in the city.
And at the time, too, there's like this, there's a hipness component to it, right? Where it's like...
Right, because they have access to information that other people don't have access to.
Even if it is abject, even if it is something you want to keep your distance from, the fact that you have come as close to contact with it than others gives you cred, I guess.
So you're saying in this book, the main argument is that what they're bringing to stand-up is showing them what life in the city is like?
Well, they're showing to a certain group of people, whoever their audience is, what life is for the people that they aren't.
So I would say that Richard Pryor was the first person to show them what to talk about what their life is. I would say that he grew up in Peoria, Illinois, which is not a big town, and after that 5 years of disappearing, when he came back, he was slowly working towards just like real portrayal and honesty in the world that he knew and was familiar with, both in the city and in small towns that he grew up in. So like he has a bit about a wino, and it's like this just 5-minute act out of and people are just dying.
Wine is what made me the man I am today.
Right, yeah. And he's doing an impersonation of a drunk.
Yeah.
Specifically some sort of a homeless drunk who is possibly got schizophrenia or some sort of a problem that causes him to act in a way that's bizarre.
Sure, compared to before that doing an impression of a bowling pin. So the difference between those,
God bless that sweet man.
Yeah, and I mean and that bowling pin bit that I'm talking about is wonderful, funny, and very well done. But it isn't. If you are someone that is black in the '60s and you don't see yourself or hear your voice anywhere, at best you'll hear these comics who kind of talk about it. But it's still very jokey. It's still kind of just like, well, like we're oppressed, like that really sucks. And Richard Pryor comes in as like, this is our life. I'm going to say the N-word not as something that is just as like as punctuation, like something that I'm talking to you. We're all part of that.
Or I'm bringing my life to you, so listen. Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, we are. I am showing. I'm talking about our life, and in a way that other people weren't.
Jackie Moms Mabley did a very similar thing. I read a dissertation about her that someone wrote comparing the Richard Pryor and Jackie Moms Mabley as like comedians, as sort of disruptive comedians, in the way that they was like Jackie Moms Mabley would always come in and be like, okay, I'm going to tell you a story. So she was like a storytelling comedian, and so she did the same thing that Richard Pryor did, where she was just like, okay, you're there, I'm here, I'm relating to you, and we're having a conversation, but I'm the one talking right now, and you're going to listen to me. Which is why which reminds me of that story about Richard Pryor getting really upset at a white guy heckling him or something, and he's like, just let me fucking talk. You get to talk all the time, And it was like, it was like sort of devastating and hilarious at the same time.
The urban immigrant story, though, that Lyman insists is the story of the stand-up comics being told in the 50s and early 60s is actually of Jewish comedians, like Mort Saul, for example, or Alan King, right? People, even Woody Allen, doing stories that are about relatable human anxiety, and I guess commodifying something that is other, ethnically other, culturally other, so that it can be sold on record.
Yeah, and the desire to be commodified, but also resisting it at the same time. It's like the only way for your comedy to be circulated and for you to be famous is for it to become commodified. But then when you can become commodified, then you lose a part of your agency. So
now, Del Close and the I.O. people, they insist that the thing is funny because it's true, right? That it hits a note because we see in it a reflection of the world as we understand it.
What do you think about that? I don't know. Do you think that's true? Are you a fan of? Are you of the Del Close school of thought?
I think there is a truth to that. I don't live by truth in comedy, and that I don't seek out trying to find something true necessarily, but it has to be based in something. You have to be pulling from something true and then kind of bending it in a way that is surprising.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you just show truth, I think that's when somebody like Lenny Bruce starts to fall off.
Yeah.
I think that
I agree.
Right before that, when he's speaking very truthfully about these things that nobody else is talking about, and he's talking about them, and he's saying like really hard facts that people don't want to hear, but then he's also framing them in these funny ways, and he's exaggerating just a little bit. But you can say to yourself, I know what truth he's exaggerating. I think it's the exaggeration that makes it funny, and I think it's the truth that really amps it up and adds it makes the stakes of the joke much higher because we know it's true. So I think you can't pull them apart, but I don't think that because something is true, it's funny, which
Well, it's like that kind of trend. It seems like these comedians are getting... These fucking comedians. The problem I've kind of had with Louis lately is like it's getting too real, and like, I mean, because I love comedy, I love laughing because I'm like such a depressed, cynical, over analyzing person, so I need that release.
It's like bordering on maudlin sometimes.
Yeah, it's just getting like super.
I disagree with you guys.
Brecht or something like.
I think he's doing Bergman. I think that's and Bergman thought he was making comedies. When he makes some.
Well, I'm not laughing.
I don't think that Louis is very concerned with making each episode of Louis very funny.
Yeah, which is
right.
fine.
But it just gets to a point where you're like, I don't know. It's just like, what are you trying to do? Like,
I think
are you trying to like get like too serious, or I don't know.
I think what I had to do is I had to abandon my assumptions that the show was necessarily always going to be a comedy and just be like, take me on a journey, Louis. All right, that's fine,
Yeah, but then that's when I'm
like,
I'll just go. But I just went there to laugh, so
yeah.
He can do whatever he wants to do. It's just, I don't know. Just cut this out. I take it back.
No, that's fine.
No, these are old. I've had the same experience, and then I was just like no, I shouldn't. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's the same thing like musicians have, where they're like worried about integrity versus like doing the same thing over and over. Like I think of like Jack White and the White Stripes. Like everyone wants like another rocking 1-2-1-2 like smashing album, and he's like, well, we did like 2 or 3 of these, and then the later ones started getting more. You could tell this is what he's interested in exploring musically, and the audience is like,
he didn't want to keep doing impersonation of himself.
Yeah, and it's like, because you can still listen to those earlier albums, and so I guess that's a little bit the case with Louis. Like, you don't want to just keep making funny stuff, but me as an audience member, I'm like, and especially because I spend too much time thinking about art, I'm like, I have enough of these experiences that are about like trying to make you like not sure what you're experiencing, and sometimes I like to laugh, and I like unexpected things do make you laugh, but when it gets like really heavy-handed and really serious in this, like, I'm going to tell you the truth, like, I guess that's why I brought it up, because some of the ones this season that were just like really in your face and depressing and aggressively negative, and where it's sort of like that sort of like bullshit rocker moment where they're like, let me tell you what the truth is, or like this, all this around us is bullshit, and like you came here, like, you want me to make you laugh, I'm gonna tell you the truth. And
for me, I don't think Louis has ever been a show about just like when you sit down, know you're going to laugh. In the first season, he has the entire episode that's based around the juicefication, the crucifixion of Jesus, where he, as a little boy, has what the crucifixion was explained in great detail. And I mean, if there are laughs in that episode, they are few and far between. Right. But I mean, that's one of my favorite episodes, and it is. I think it's beautiful in itself. It's definitely, it's a fair critique to say, like, I'm sitting down to watch TV, and I don't like, do I need to be challenged every week? No, like but yeah, I don't think that's what he's interested in doing with Louis.
I think that this goes to the heart of what the question is about impersonation, because I think what we see is that there's like a dialectic here, that there's impersonation and there's experimentation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can do what somebody else did, or you can try something no one's done, right? And when you are doing comedy, like the way, like, if there's a criticism of Louis' show for not being funny, then it's because what the criticism is then is that it isn't a comedy show. It isn't doing an impersonation of a comedy show, right? It isn't,
which is what we were led to believe. So in that sense, he's not being. But at the beginning of the show, though, were we supposed to believe it was a comedy? Because it was. So he just sort of switched gears. So it's not like he broke any promises.
I guess it's sort of like, just like when public figures decide to change, like they want to be taken more seriously or whatever. So they're like, I'm going to come out with this like folk album or something.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Like,
but what the impersonation is, you were saying though, Andre, about like, so you think that Louis is trying to do.
Well, if there is a split here, and that on one side you have just doing something that has been done before, recognizing what the elements are and repeating them, and the other version is creating something new, then, if his version of creating something new is to just do an impersonation of Bergman instead, then we see a little bit of his ideology there. We see some of his thought process. We see that there is possibly the idea there that, there is a kind of art making that is legitimate, which is, the thing that reflects life. And then there's a kind that is crass and commercial, which is giving people what they want.
The thing is for the public consumption, Louis C.K.'s career has not included much of that. But as far as Louis C.K.'s artistic career, he's always been producing these short films.
Right.
They've gotten into Sundance. Like he's been pushing himself as a filmmaker, which is why when it was time for him to do Louis, he was able to direct and edit it himself because he had that experience. When they were pitching shows to FX, he pitched them 2 shows. He pitched them a sitcom about his family, which he had already had 2 failed versions of, and
Lucky Louie and another one.
Yeah, and then the other show that he pitched them was just short films that he made with nothing tying them in between. And FX went back to him and said, why don't we combine these? Why don't you just do short films through the lens of your family? And that's what Louis is. You'll have a 10-minute story, and then you'll have a 2-minute piece where he's standing in the subway and a man's playing violin, and then a homeless man comes down and gives himself a bath. And then it's done. And it's not connected to the rest of the episode, and that's it. That's all he wanted to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't want it to come off that I'm like, oh, I don't like it anymore because he's not being funny.
Sure. I mean, it's, I think...
Because it's not that simple.
It's possible that he just switched the thing that he was doing, that he was copying. That maybe he started out doing something closer to Seinfeld, and now he's doing something closer to Woody Allen.
Yeah.
And it's because this is something that he likes now.
What does it all have to be copying?
Well, I mean...
He doesn't appear to be doing anything that's actually new. I don't think that you see anything new on TV.
Other than the fact that it's like a really,
The stakes are too high to experiment, really, on television.
It seems pretty experimental to me.
For television, I think Louis is pretty experimental.
For TV, sure, but we're talking about for TV.
But where else are we experimenting? I mean, that's like, you got to start with the... Well, to even experiment a little bit in something that mainstream is pretty...
It's not a bad thing that he's not doing anything like new. It's
no,
just,
I'm not saying that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But if you talk about him as an experimental artist, as part of the avant-garde, then you put it in context, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going up there and putting a yam in his vagina, right?
Yeah,
like Karen Finley did.
Yeah, but did she do that on Seinfeld or something?
It would be so good.
Tim Miller was one of those, experimental performance art people, and he ended up on the Larry Sanders Show. It's not crazy.
But he was on there as part of the NEA4, though, right?
Sure, but he was there.
Yeah.
And Karen Finley ended up on Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher.
Yeah, but that's all stupid. No,
yeah, but I don't like it, so let's not talk about it.
It's
no, but I'm saying it's more. I'm saying it is. Yeah, but
I agree.
We shouldn't say then. Also, I want to make this clear that the point of the avant-garde is to eventually produce something you can sell.
No,
because that was one of the things that was terrible about. The relationship between video art and music videos in the 90s was that these directors were just going and watching art and then taking something that they thought was commodifiable and turning it into a way to sell people an Offspring record.
Yeah.
And as a result, now you can't even watch video art without seeing all this stuff that you built this emotional connection to as being a way to sell records.
What interests me about where this conversation is kind of going is that comedy as a genre can't really be separated from entertainment because because comedy relies on trying to be funny. So it relies very specifically on there is an expected
special
reaction
relationship to commercialism in that way too.
So whereas a lot of things that are avant-garde don't have to answer to that. So then avant-garde comedy still can be called effective or ineffective, So like you have comedy that is experimenting in that way and trying to push the medium forward for the sake of pushing that medium forward, still is expected to get laughs. It's still expected to.
But we all admire Andy Kaufman, and he performed 2 Rooms of Dead Silence for years.
Yeah, and I mean, and that was times when everybody leaving that room found it ineffective.
Yeah, that doesn't mean it means it was great art. It doesn't mean it was great comedy.
Yeah,
I think it was great comedy, and I think you see a lot of people copying it now.
Yeah,
sure,
that's true, but they're funny.
I have a lot of respect for Andy Kaufman. I mean, he was doing pure experimentation. Not all of those experiments worked, and then it took him. It was a process for him to find which ones worked consistently. And as soon as people appreciated it, he was done with them. He was done doing Mighty Mouse. He was on to these other things, trying to find new ways to be experimental. So his entire career is people kind of being like, I like this. I don't know if I like this. Oh, okay. And so when you look at the span of...
So he was avant-garde because he was okay with bombing. Or in fact, he saw out bombing.
Yeah.
Because he fostered ambivalence.
Because he
relished in ambivalence.
He sabotaged himself too. Like the minute you found acceptance. That's.
Yeah, he was done with it. He wasn't interested.
Like it became dead or something. Once you could name it as comedy. Once you could be entertained by it or something, he was like, "Oh no, it's time to."
So then the experiment isn't to find what works; it's to find what doesn't work.
Or to find what works for you and then see if you can get other people to agree with it.
I think it's to find something new that works, and along the way you're going to find an incredible amount that doesn't work.
But I don't know. I feel uneasy about this model of the avant-garde that's just Thomas Edison in his laboratory trying to find something he can sell to a bunch of rubes.
But I mean, I don't think Andy.
No, I think Andy Kaufman enjoyed it more when people walked out. I think that's when it was working for him.
Yeah, that was his process. It was he wanted to do that. He wanted to. He wanted to go into a bakery and get people uncomfortable, where it's only a performance for him.
Yeah,
and like he enjoyed that.
It was a sort of a fantasy of a performance for one and of one. Like it was I think everything he did was sort of utopian in that way. That it was just like, what if it was possible to be a performer, and the only audience you cared about was you? Like, what if that? And it turns out
that's everybody all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's. Yeah.
Well, in Breakfast with Blassie, the short that he did with George Blassie, the wrestler.
Yeah.
And
I didn't see that.
It's clear that he is mimicking. He's doing an impersonation of. He did a lot of impersonations, but in this case, he's doing My Dinner with Andre, the play that was Wallace Shawn wrote with Andre
Andre
Gregory, right? And then it was turned into a movie with Louis Malle where they're just sitting there at a table and you're just sitting there actually having a meal with these people. And so he recreates it, but his version is so much more entertaining than My Dinner with Andre. He had the opportunity to, here's a play and then later a movie, My Dinner with Andre, that is notorious for not giving the audience anything.
Yeah.
Right? This is just two people who are theater professionals talking about their experiences, and it is of no interest to people who aren't theater people.
Yeah.
Right? It's incredibly ungenerous. And then he goes and he makes a version that's a bunch of weirdo goofballs in a diner, doing crazy stuff, and he's interacting with people that are, sitting behind him. They're having a blast. That movie's hilarious. So it wasn't simply that he was interested in denying the audience pleasure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I mean, something that he said over and over again is that he wanted it all to just feel like a party. He wanted it all to just feel like this experience. And what part of who he was when he was performing was that he needed to only worry about what his response to it was. He needed to seek out, I'm not doing this on stage, I'm doing this in a bakery where no one knows that I'm not this foreign man character. They just, they think at the best that I am mentally unstable. At that might be, or I'm nothing. But either way, he's interested and sought that out and learned from that so that then he could go and use that elsewhere. He was... that was an experiment just for him that then he could pull from and create, just see what he could pull from. What can he pull from making people uncomfortable? How can you use that effectively?
But very much of the time.
There's this frustration I have because I really like Andy Kaufman and I really like this is a weird comparison, but I really like Billy Eichner, like Billy on the Street, this sort of making people uncomfortable and then demanding something from them, not getting it. But at the same time, it is my fucking biggest nightmare in the world if someone were to come up to me on the street and demand that I say things to them. And I think there's a reason that some of these avant-garde comedians we've been talking about this whole time from the 50s and 60s and 70s and onward have all been white dudes except for Richard Pryor, obviously. But have all been like Andy Kaufman was Richard Pryor also wasn't trying to make people uncomfortable. He was just trying to do an act. Whereas I feel the idea of just going into a coffee shop and just trying to make people uncomfortable in order to see what would happen seems incredible to me.
It's also rooted, as you're saying, in incredible privilege.
Super.
Unless
I cannot even imagine doing something like that.
If Richard Pryor had done something like that,
oh my God, he would be in jail. It would be awful. It would be so bad. Yeah.
But that's such an art thing though now.
I know, and it's I don't know. I don't want to say I don't like it because I like it if it's good, but then how do you know if it's going to be good unless you do it?
If you're seeing it and you go, this is good.
I don't know.
When Kaufman would then create a piece for the stage, after he would make an audience uncomfortable, he would always make it a point to then flip it back, and he has a bit with drums where he turns it as if the audience doesn't like his jokes, and he starts crying, and all he wanted to do was this bongo, and he just kind of drops his hand on the drum, and the way he's sobbing kind of starts to sound like a beat, and then all of a sudden he's singing.
Yeah.
And that was him trying to be okay, I've made you uncomfortable. Now I'm saying you don't know where the line is, so let's just enjoy this weird experience that we had.
Yeah. I think Bridget Everett does something like that too.
See, now this is, I think, closer to something that I would agree with in terms of what could possibly have been his project, which was that he wasn't doing the Thomas Edison, trying 1,000 filaments until he finds one and then makes a fortune. No, it's possible is that he was deliberately attempting to antagonize the audience because that antagonism was a worthwhile experience for everyone.
Sure, and
to get the laugh is too easy, and it relieves the pressure that was productive. So when they laugh, that means it isn't working because they aren't getting anything out of it.
Well, that's Brecht. Then that goes back to what you were saying earlier, Eric.
Yeah.
About I don't know.
By the time he's singing, though, there are laughs, so he's bringing it down so that then he can bring it back up. is like he still felt that responsibility to,
like music.
after making
like
somebody
controlling a
genuinely
tide or something.
uncomfortable, pouring water on somebody's head that is a plant, but they don't know that.
Sure.
He's making everybody like genuinely tense up and be like, why is this man doing this? This is the worst thing I've ever seen. And then breaking down that barrier. So he's raised the stakes for himself so as high as can be, where he's tensed everybody up, and then they are very eager to suddenly relieve that tension and realize on some level this is probably a joke.
But you have to earn trust, though, from your audience in order for that to even take place in the at all.
But sometimes he didn't use that formula. Occasionally, like when he read The Great Gatsby, he just would read, and there was no relief.
Then he's just doing art, and that's the worst thing.
But no, when Elevator Repair Service, the theater company, when they did...
It was based on this, yeah.
When they started doing GATS, the show that they did here in Chicago and then also in other places, it's Scott Shepherd walking out on stage, picking up a copy of The Great Gatsby, and then proceeding to read the entire book on stage over the course of 7 hours.
But people, I mean, he's in the show, like they're actors in it. I mean, they perform it, and he also reads it as a narrator and a reader.
There's a version of getting up on stage and reading The Great Gatsby that is commercial theater.
Yeah, extremely lucrative commercial theater.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, with that piece, what it turned into was he would read it, the crowd would literally start booing, and then he would say, "Okay, fine. Would you rather hear me read this book, or would you rather just listen to a record?" And then the crowd would be like, "Yeah, we would rather listen to a record." And then he would go out, bring out a record player, start the record, and it was a recording of him reading Great Gatsby from exactly the spot that he was at. You know,
those,
so like
tiny moments that are rewards, for this sort of.
Now, this is something that's similar to a gag that you did in
Sure.
With the card trick.
The card trick. What was this?
At not the Kate Berland show, the Bridget Everett show.
What did I do with the card? The Halley's Comet.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. The kind of.
Can you explain to our listeners what this is?
Sure.
No, don't make him explain
I won't
his bit.
Sorry,
I don't know what we're talking about.
That's
okay.
the cruelest thing you can do.
Sorry,
to a person.
I'm a giant asshole.
Come see me. My name is Ian Abramson.
Yes,
and I will
please
do the
do.
Halley's Comet bit.
It is very good.
It's like a thing where you expect the audience to have a certain, understanding of the thing being spontaneous and dependent on people's experiences in the moment, and then you reveal, in fact, no, the whole thing was planned from the beginning.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
The classic setup punchline of you think it's this way, but really it's like this.
Sure. Yeah.
I want us to wrap up, but I want everyone to say something before we wrap up. Anything at all?
Oh, plugs.
Yeah, plugs. Oh, God. Plugs. What's your favorite impersonation lately?
That anyone's done?
That anyone's done ever. What's your favorite one? Or one of your favorites?
Impersonation?
You can if you want.
If you want that to be your legacy in the world, you're free to.
Okay. Well, should I plug my book or a dolphin?
Tell people about your book.
Go, Eric.
This is serious, and I'll just be laughing the whole time. This is what I was saying. Well, I was thinking about with the Iggy Azalea stuff. Like, I don't like that music because they're always talking about how awesome they are, and I think that's awful. And then I'm like, because I'm like a loud, talky person, but I'm also like kind of like weird about promoting myself and stuff. And then when I hear a song like that, I'm like, oh, that's just how you sound. That's how you would sound if you were talking about how awesome you are. So anyway, there's a book that's come out that has an excerpt of a thing I wrote in it.
Cool.
So it's not even.
Do you want to give us the title of the book, possibly the author, where they can find it?
So there's a book called How to Write About Contemporary Art, and there's an excerpt and an accompanying photograph of a thing I wrote that was deemed to be a good example of how one would write about contemporary art, by Dr. Gilda Williams of Goldsmiths in London, and it's out from Thames and Hudson.
Very impressive.
And you can follow me on Twitter.
Okay. All right, Andre, do you have anything?
Listen to my brother's podcast. Well, he records it. It's Days of Future Cast. It's comic books and stuff.
And Ian, what about you?
Is this plugs or my favorite impression?
Either of them.
Okay, favorite impression, Maria Bamford. She's describing a dream in which her pug was George Bush, and so it's kind of an impression of her pug, kind of an impression of George Bush, and it's amazing. Check out 7 Minutes in Purgatory on YouTube. I do a show where comedians perform to a camera in one room and the audience watches in another room. So if you want to see what happens when a comedian doesn't know how the audience is responding, you can look up those videos.
Oh, nice.
Excellent. I'm going to say my favorite impersonation is every pop singer lately just trying to do Rihanna.
Nice.
I thought about doing a whole podcast just about just like people trying to be Rihanna, but that ship has sailed. Anyway.
I could end with an anecdote about impersonations.
All right, end with an anecdote.
When I was a kid, do you remember? When I was a kid, they used to have like TV events.
Yes.
And the only one left now is like the Oscars. It still has that kind of like old TV like live thing. And I remember there was a kid. It was a Rich Little in A Night of 42 Stars. And he's a famous impersonator.
Yeah,
he came on and he said, "Well, I'm very sorry, but all the celebrities that were supposed to be here tonight couldn't make it." And then that was like his joke leading up to like all the impersonations he was going to do. And I just like, as a kid, I was so confused that could happen. Or like, was he really like just trying to fill in and kill time because
was he really stood up by 42?
Yeah, was he really like, did he really... I don't know. I guess it's not a good story.
That was a good story. I liked it. Richard Little was famous. People should listen to it.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know. It was just really funny, like, to, I just have that distinct memory of him coming out. "I'm very sorry. It's just going to be me. I know you were here for whoever." And then he just proceeds to, like, do impersonations of every celebrity of that moment in the late 80s. And, it was, I still remember it to this day.
Very good. This is Noisy Ghost. Thank you for listening. Bye.
All right, bye.